What's up, everybody? Today, I'm going to be giving you 11 waiver wire targets that you should be going after, especially if you have some injuries. Injuries in the league are starting to mount up. We saw a lot of big names go out last week, so I'm going to give you these names. But first, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon so you can get notifications whenever I have a new fantasy football video. So we're going to get right into this. At quarterback, I have Justin Herbert as the guy that you should pick up. He's my first out of these 11 players to pick up. We did not expect to see him this early in the season, but because of Tyrod Taylor's injury, he played exceptionally well against the defending Super Bowl champions. If Tyrod Taylor's out for an extended period of time, I think he would be a really good play. Has a couple favorable matchups coming up. I really like Justin Herbert, which I'm surprised saying this, as I was not a huge fan of him coming out of Oregon, but he proved a lot in that first game. I expect him to be a hot pickup in fantasy football leagues this week. Also, another player that, if he is available, you should consider picking up is Ryan Tannehill. And I'm starting to notice that his ownership is not as high as what I originally thought it was. He's available in a lot of NFL.com leagues, especially if you're in an 8 or 10 team league. He's available in many of those. If he's not taken already, definitely pick him up. Of course, in bigger leagues, probably gone already. But for my running backs, these are very important because we saw a lot of big running back names go out this past week with injury. Saquon Barkley is out for the year. And we also saw Raheem Mostert go out with an injury. So that is why I'm saying take a chance on Jerrick McKinnon. If you can get him on the waiver wire this week, it would be a really good pickup, especially if you have Mostert or Tevin Coleman, both of which got injured in Sunday's game. Mostert seems to be unlikely to return for week 3, and the same goes for Tevin Coleman. If that is the case, Jeff Wilson is the only other running back outside of McKinnon. And even if Coleman is back, McKinnon was much more productive than Tevin Coleman was. So this should be an excellent play this upcoming week. A fairly favorable matchup for San Francisco. I really like Jerrick McKinnon this week, especially if you're one of those teams that has a fantasy football injury at the running back position. Devonta Freeman is another guy that you should consider picking up considering the Barkley injury. It sounds like he's going to sign with New York. They're bringing him in for a visit. I think it's worth a chance, especially if you're in 12-team leagues. Take a chance on him. The Giants, they're going to be behind in most games. The offensive line isn't great, but running back is so thin right now, you almost have to take a chance and hope that he's the Devonta Freeman that we saw 4 or so years ago. Darrell Henderson is another guy to pick up. He's my last running back waiver wire pickup for this week. And I liked Henderson coming out of Memphis. He was a beast in college, averaging like 9 yards a carry. It was totally ridiculous. So I really like him this week, especially with Cam Akers being out. He doesn't have as good of a matchup, but I do like him. Considering Malcolm Brown was not that productive last week, I believe that Darrell Henderson is much more explosive back, the back that's going to fit more into Sean McVay's scheme. A guy that, again, if you have Cam Akers or if you have another running back with an injury, you should consider picking up. A wide receiver, I'll give you 2 more, actually. Chase Claypool is the first one. My Pittsburgh Steeler had that huge 84-yard touchdown catch. I expect his volume to go up in the coming weeks. I know the Steelers have a lot of different mouths to feed, but Claypool has been so productive in the few chances he's gotten. I believe he's going to surpass James Washington on the depth chart very quickly. KJ Hamler is another guy to keep an eye on, considering Cortland Sutton is now out for the year. I expect his role to be widened as well. Both of those would be excellent pickups. At tight end, I'm going to give you 3 tight end pickups to finish this out. The first one is Dalton Schultz. I believe that Blake Jarwin is out for the season. Dalton Schultz had like 12 targets last week. It was something outrageous. And coming out of Stanford, a lot of people compared Dalton Schultz to Jason Witten. I'm not saying he's going to be that, but Dak Prescott has gotten more and more comfortable throwing to the tight end each and every year. Blake Jarwin started off the season fairly nice, had a couple nice catches before his injury, and I expect Dalton Schultz to have maybe a bigger role than what Jarwin would have had. He fits the Cowboys better. He's probably a better blocker, so I would think that he's going to have a bigger role in the offense than Blake Jarwin ever would have. Alie-Cox is another guy. Someone in the comment section on my last video mentioned him for the past week. I didn't really think much of it, but with Trey Burton and Jack Doyle both sidelined, he had a really big role. He had over 100 yards receiving this past week, and we know how Phillip Rivers likes throwing to those tight ends. So Alie-Cox is a guy, especially if you have let's say a Paris Campbell, or you had a Blake Jarwin. A Paris Campbell, I'm going to leave it for because they're both on Indianapolis. He's just not clicking with Phillip Rivers. If you have the ability, if you have roster flexibility, I would just pick up Cox and drop Campbell. You still have one target for Indianapolis. I think that would be the best move if you happen to have Paris Campbell. If not, just really see who you have available at tight end. There's a lot of good tight ends to pick up this week after big weeks that Mike Gesicki, Jonnu Smith, Hayden Hurst all had. Mike Gesicki is the last one I'm going to get into today, and he was widely owned before the first week when he only scored 4 points. But he came back this week, had a nice game against the Buffalo Bills, which was a fairly difficult opponent. And especially considering Devonta Parker's injury, it looks like Gesicki is getting the biggest target share now that Parker is gone. Ryan Fitzpatrick has seemed to have developed a good chemistry with him, so I believe he would be a good pickup for you, and he will help you in the coming weeks. That's going to do it all for today. I'll be back later this weekend. Be sure to check back for my weekly starts and sits. But be sure to like this video, share this video on social media, and subscribe to this channel. Hit the bell so you get notifications anytime there is a new video. We'll see you next time.